So, welcome to our final call. I just want to start off with thank you so much for being here, from listening to me ramble on about this stuff. It has been an absolute pleasure getting to know you better and just taking on this journey. And it's not over from here. I'm always here for both of you, especially. And I'm, whatever it is that you need, whatever that's going on, you'll have access to all the video content. And I'm going to be continuing to, upload things. And what I'll probably do is, as I upload things, just like new things or updates, I'll shoot you guys an email, not a ton, but like, once a month or so, to let you know what's the new thing going on. But you'll always have access for that. I am in the midst of kind of like a website redo and really going in on Member Vault, so it's really accessible for you guys and organized. So
I've really loved having it there too, Carrie, on
good,
these weeks where I couldn't make the call.
good, good.
I've
I'm glad.
loved having all the
Good.
information there. It's
And you'll
great.
continue to have that for as long as the internet exists, for lack of a better word. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Which might be
continue.
tomorrow.
Right, seriously. Well, fingers crossed. And I'm gonna continue to organize it and add to it. I love this stuff. I love teaching this stuff, and I love learning about it. So it'll be constantly be added in. And let's do a little grounding. We'll do a little mid movement. We'll do a little chatting, just kind of answer any questions about lymphatic system, fascia, and really anything else. And then we will do some rolling out. We'll do some lymphatic stuff. We'll talk through some just how other ways to get fascial health, things like that. So wherever you are in your space, if you want to light some incense, a candle, or just kind of take a moment to let your hands land on your body.
Listen, I'm just going to get on my floor. You won't be able to see me, but I'll be there.
That's fine.
Because I'm on a desktop here. So
you are good. No tilting.
Okay.
And you'll just close your eyes, kind of take a moment to like wiggle around, get yourself settled, and just really take a moment to check in here with yourself. You know, this these past 6 months have really been just such a blessing for me. But I also want you guys to honor and gratitude yourselves for showing up in these past 6 months, however that's looked like. Even just the act of signing up for something that's a little bit outside the box, and taking you not just through a fitness, but really taking care of yourself. And I think the more of us that take care of ourselves, hopefully the better we can make this world when we come from a place of love and gratitude. So just arriving here with a nice big breath in and a long breath out. And just taking these few moments in the beginning of our time together to notice your physical body. Notice where you have landed today on your mat. And send gratitude to the pieces of yourself that have showed up here each day, each week, to learn something new, to explore your body, and to grow and change. Listening to your body, and really truly listening, like you all have been, is no small feat. It requires dedication, commitment, and sometimes a lot of growing pains. So just sending gratitude for our first few moments here. And just taking the next few moments to notice if anything has shifted over our time together. Notice if there's anything that you really want to hold on to from this experience and carry with you, or anything that you feel like you might have worked through and are ready to let go of. Noticing how your physical body feels, your mental self, your mind, your thoughts. Notice your emotions, your energy levels, the quality of your breath. All these pieces, big and small, that make you who you are. In this moment, in this time, in this space. Take a nice deep breath in. And a long breath out. Let yourself have this time and space to just rest after all your hard work for a few more moments, to be still and to take it all in. And to remember that wherever you are in your journey, your life, you are worthy of rest, you are worthy of love, and you are worthy of all the time in the world. Take another deep breath in and long breath out. And since you're both on the floor, I'm just going to invite you to interlace your hands behind your head, taking a little kind of hug right at the base of the skull where the hard spot of the head meets the soft spot of the spine. And then just taking a little tuck of the chin. Gently pull the head away from you like you're getting a little taller. And then elbows open up again. Eyes will open. And moving the eyes only over to the right. Just notice if anything shifts. If you feel like you need to yawn or take a deep breath or sigh. And let it happen. Surrender to it. And then eyes will come back through center and you take them over to the other side. Once again, just noticing, softening, surrendering, letting there be space to feel it all. Eyes come on back through center, arms are going to come out in a T. Then you can bend your knees and place your feet flat on the floor. And just really gently windshield wiper the knees side to side. Knowing that all these little things you've learned over the past 6 months are a way to self-soothe and to take care of yourself. Just like you may take care of a friend or family member, a child or a lover, you can give that same love and attention to yourself with really small movements, body-based movements. We'll take 2 more windshield wipers on each side. Well, the next time you come on back through center, pause for a moment, turn your palms to the earth, press your palms down and your feet down. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, let it go. Take your time to kind of wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, kind of bring yourself back to the space. I am going to read our card pull and then I'll show it to you, but you can come on back kind of to seated in front of the computer. We'll chat a little bit before doing some more movement. But the card I pulled for today was from a deck called Sacred Cycles, and I'll share that with you in a moment. And I pulled the fox. The mantra of the fox is, I can sense what is in alignment for me. A quietly cunning creature of the forest, fox knows how to move in silence. They observe and assess their options, never straying too far from the safety of their den. With a keen awareness of the possibilities they can pursue, fox set their sights on a particular hunt and tracks it with calm certainty and concentration. If you are being reminded of ways you can explore an interest by beginning with curiosity. Instead of blasting out of the gates, this is a slow invitation to start an endeavor with a slow and steady approach. With this mindset, you'll be gifted the chance to truly take notice of whether this new quest is in alignment. If you come to find that it's not the right direction for you, you will be primed to shift course with ease. Fox teaches you that not everything is worth the chase, and sometimes it takes a few tries to find what is most deserving of your focus. Look at what is arising and new within your world, getting curious about which tracks are yours to follow. And there's a journal prompt that I will send out afterwards, but I'll type in the chat if you want to get into it. shortly. It's what opportunities do I have in front of me to choose from, and which ones feel most in alignment? So, what opportunities do I have in front of me? Have in front of me to choose from. What is in alignment? But I will send this out in the email too, but just in case you're feeling called to kind of get into that this evening. And if there's anything you do want to write down, I'm going to share. This is my new favorite card deck that I bought, Sacred Cycles. It's all
Ooh.
about, it's beautiful artwork too. It's really cool. It has a lot to do with like a woman's menstrual cycle, but it also has the earth. It's kind of all we did in Mother Nature. Women's menstrual cycle, moon cycles, the earth's sacred cycles. It kind of wraps it all up. Animals, it's got like all my favorite things in here. The moon, the body, animals. So I figured
That's fun.
consider we talked a lot about cycles and Mother Nature. It's a good way to kind of wrap it up. So, I have it upside down. The sacred cycles. So, before we get into specifics, I have some balls back there that I wanted to talk through and some lymphatic stuff. But before that, I just wanted to open up the floor first to any questions that have popped up, either about the fascial lymphatic system and the eyes, or really anything at all over these past 6 months, and kind of give you guys the floor to ask your questions, knowing that like you'll always have me to ask questions too, but if there's anything kind of burning on your minds right now.
There's nothing really burning on my mind except sort of re-immersing myself. It's been kind of a busy time for me. So I'm really happy to be in this, even if it's the last night.
Yes. I am glad you're here.
I see your smiling faces. So no questions from me at the moment.
Great.
I've just been thinking about, it's not really a question, I don't think, but like how, it makes all the sense in the world that like the nervous system is like as complex as, we've now come to understand it, and all the things are so interconnected. I'm really struck by like almost every time you were presenting something, it was like, oh, and this is how this is connected to the nervous system, and this, and it's just like, it's kind of mind blowing. Like I want one diagram that has like all the things.
I can get on that. I'm gonna write that down. I'm not gonna make it. I'm gonna have someone else make it, but I can start. I can.
That would be cool, though. That would be cool.
Yeah. I'm writing that down.
I want one of those for life too, actually. So if you can have somebody make one of those.
So much of what you've talked about is so new, and it's like I'm trying so hard to like piece it all together and to kind of understand it holistically, because that's what I like to do, is kind of see it all together. So yeah.
But it is challenging because it also, I think, what's the right word? It confronts some of the things that the way we live our life, and some of the ways that the modern medical world treats us, or honestly the way we've treated our own bodies over time too. So I think it's hard to be like, oh, right. Like it is a little bit of a rude awakening sometimes that like everything is connected, because it's like, oh, right, all those things can really shift how I feel and what's going on in my body.
Right.
And it can be hard to, and I say that like, not because we've done anything wrong in the past, but what's the phrase? When you know better, you do better. And more for like yourself, when you know how to better take care of yourself, you can take better care of yourself. But it's also overwhelming, and it's contradictory. That's the word I was going to say. Contradictory to like some of the ways that we set up our daily life. I was just thinking like I just a friend of mine just gave birth, and just like what it has to do, like what the way new mothers are kind of just like, oh, expect to go back to work and like lift heavy things in a while. Like it's very contradictory to like the safety that our nervous system needs, or just with everything COVID related. I think that's shaken up a lot of the nervous system, social engagement, and the way we interact with the world. So and I don't say this to dampen everyone's spirits, but there is a lot working against our nervous system sometimes. So it can feel like a big feat to like, how am I going to take care of myself?
Sometimes it's each other.
Exactly. 100%. And I think awareness is always the first step. So even just being aware of like, okay, these things are all connected. I might not always change it right. I might be changing things or doing anything, but bringing that level of awareness to like, I mean, even your yoga practice, Julian, only because I know that you have such a strong yoga practice. It's like every time you step on your mat, you are influencing so many of those systems. And that's why yoga is so powerful to a certain extent. Like your eyes, your proprioception, your fascia, you're opening up where the vagus nerve travels. There's so many aspects of yoga that are nourishing our nervous system if they're done intelligently. And I'm going to be biased and say I know for a fact they're done intelligently, chakra power yoga, because I help train the teachers. But like it is that's powerful in itself. And I think it's important to recognize too what's working against us, but also all the small bits of what we're doing to help ourselves too.
Mm.
Yeah. But it is, and I'll do my best to make a diagram. That sounds like fun. I will not draw it because I am not a good drawer. I will write it all out and have my friend design it because I do have no artistic capabilities except for when it comes to sequencing on a yoga mat. Those are my artistic abilities. And that actually, I wasn't going to share this to the end, but that does lead me to something that I wanted to share with all, especially with this upcoming move and lots of different things shifting. And even I have the second round of Nourish Your Nervous System going now. And one of the things that I have been hearing from a lot of people is that all this stuff is so new and it's so hard to incorporate into, like, figure out how to incorporate into daily life. So I'm going to be launching in the next month or two, kind of like I don't want to say a membership, but like a monthly meetup for people to be a part of, whether it be a movement or a meditation or a lecture series. Because I do think when it's front of mind, it's easier to do. And also, I mean, it's going to be virtual, but the power of especially women in groups is really important. So,
oh, count me in, especially with meditation. I so need
and
something that's going to hold me accountable to that. Yeah,
exactly. So it's going to be, I'll send you guys all the details tomorrow. I'm kind of just, honestly, I had it all written out, but with everything shifting this week, I didn't, I was like, oh shoot, I have to relook at the whole schedule because I'm going to be changing my whole schedule. But whether it be meditations or lecture formats, I think that, there's a sense of accountability that's important too for this, because it's easy to, it's much easier to show up when you tell someone else you're going to do it than when you're just showing up for yourself every day.
Well, and what you've done here too is like a series of Dharma talks, Carrie.
Yes.
So,
yep.
Right?
Yep.
So in that way, it's sort of a natural continuation of where you're at too.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And in a way to, I think one of my favorite parts, and I'll share this with both of you, and I want to say thank you, is some of the conversations we've had around these things when it comes to just the way we live our lives. And I don't want to just shame the way we live our lives, because I think it's like we're doing good jobs. We're doing a good job. But
we have to keep saying that.
Yeah, we're doing a good job, but we've had some really, as a group, great conversations. And I guess I want to keep those conversations going, A. And B, I also want to encourage you to keep those conversations going and just be aware of where you are and like checking in, like just like the daily check-in from our first month, like checking in with where you are and, your adjustments, even just like taking that extra day to spend in the sunshine on the beach. Like that's so powerful to make those choices for yourself. I know they seem small, or even, you, Liza, like taking a couple of months to be with family and to be in the sunshine, like they're small, but really big things sometimes that make
They're so small and so big at the same time, which I think is where the paradox we're supposed to get to be okay with, right?
Yeah.
The overall paradox we're supposed to get to be okay with.
Yeah.
And I want to point out too, and you probably already know this, but I really have been noticing as I go through my daily whatever I'm doing, there are a lot of articles starting to pop up about breathing, about fascia, about lymphatic massage in particular, and the lymphatic system, and the big daddy of them all, the vagus nerve, right?
Right.
All of that
vagus
stuff
nerve is very hot right now.
Rising up, right? That's right. Yeah, it's all Vegas all the time, right? Or
seriously.
whatever it is.
And you know what? I will say, I think some of that's due to the trauma of the past 2 years that a lot of
I think so
people
too.
like just, and I think I saw something really funny. I meant to save it. I'll have to find it in my phone somewhere. It
You
was,
were ahead of your time.
I appreciate that.
You were.
It was a quote about, oh gosh, what was it? It was like, we all have to realize that no adult is untraumatized. Like every
That's right.
person has been through something traumatic, whether and all of our, and it's all relative to them. Like my trauma is not the same. A small thing in my life could have been a big thing in your life, or vice versa. But like
Yeah.
no adult out there is untraumatized, especially after the pandemic, with so many people losing their jobs and
Right.
getting sick and dying. And it was just, it was a funny thing, like recognizing no adult is, other adult is untraumatized, and most, maybe even most children, and that we should probably have a little bit more compassion and pay attention to things like our vagus nerve and our nervous system, because most people, I don't want to say most people, everyone walking around has been through something that
Yeah.
has rocked them to their core in some way, shape, or form. And it's not up to us to judge what that was, but it's up to us to just recognize with compassion and the importance of some of this stuff, like the vagus nerve and breathing and taking care of our bodies and our minds.
Yeah, and and one of the things I've learned not only from this interaction, but just in the last couple of years is that it really depends. The three of us could have the same experience
Yes.
and have three different reactions to it.
Mm-hmm.
The same traumatic experience.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And have three different reactions. So that's important to remember too.
Yeah. And that
people's
goes,
stories and the things they tell themselves are, well, it's like siblings, right?
Yeah.
Being in the same family, and they
all remember
often have, yeah, it's like, where did you grow up is what we usually say to our other sibling.
Yeah.
My brother, like, whose house did you grow up in?
Yeah.
Because we say we were raised by wolves, and she says, but she was always a Pollyanna. So, in that way, so people process things differently.
100%. And it also goes back to the not to like, beat a horse that's down, but it does go back to the nervous system, because
right,
everyone has a different physiological way of reacting to trauma. Some people are going to shut down and dissociate. Some people are going to go into that hypervigilant state and that be on edge at all times. Some people are going to pretend like it didn't happen. And there's a lot of more talk, and I didn't talk about it in nervous system because it's really not my area of expertise, and I didn't feel like it was appropriate for me to kind of just spew my opinion. But there's a lot of talk also about how this relates to attachment theory, how people, the nervous system and the vagus nerve relates to attachment theory and how we make friends and relationships as adults. And I think that's also interesting too, because you can see those patterns, I think, especially with adult friends, like, the vagus nerve plays a huge role in how we regulate our emotions, and that plays a huge role in how we attach to other people. And the pandemic especially has changed how we kind of, although, thankfully the mask mandates are starting to be lifted, so like a lot of people are getting back into like,
and in attachment theory, why certain people relax us and others don't.
Exactly. And that does come
and
down
others
to
are
physiological.
neutral. Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep, it does come down to physiological. Love
it. It makes me think of one of the things that's come to mind a lot. It's kind of related, maybe something different, but one of the references, and it's funny because Tina has used it at yoga, and you carry like what the response of a bunny when it's threatened, right? Like the idea that the bunny just plays dead, right? Like the bunny just kind of completely shuts down. And I have this affinity for squirrels. It's weird, but I watch squirrels like outside my window all day when I'm working. And I'm always struck by how like they're always so like looking around and hyper. You could literally see them like what we would call hyperventilating, right? But they're like that all the time, right? And they're so skittish, they're always looking around. And that's why I feel like, which is probably why I have an affinity for squirrels. I'm always like on guard, and I'm always like reacting to everything. But my husband is the complete opposite, right? I'm like, oh, he's kind of like a lion, and I'm kind of like the bunny or the squirrel, like he's like, no, I got this. Like, I'm not afraid of anything. And he's always wondering why I'm so like scared of everything. And it's part of it, there's like part of me that's always kind of like blame myself, like, why do I do that? Then it's like, well, people are really wired differently, right? Like there is a difference. Of course, there's probably a female thing going on there too, but in general, he's just somebody who had like very different like approach and understanding and reaction to things. And it's very interesting to like start to see where all that kind of plays out, and thinking about like animals in relation to our own responses to things. Like we're all the same animal, but that does not mean that some of us aren't bunnies and some of us aren't lions.
That's such a good analogy.
I love that.
Such a good analogy. And it ties us to nature, doesn't it? By doing that, because really that energy that you're imagining, now I'm always going to associate you with the squirrel. But I have them also living right outside my house in a big tree, and you can actually see their heart beating.
Yeah.
It's my mind.
Yeah.
And I think, what is going on over there? Like it makes me a
Right.
little jumpy,
Exactly.
Like I pick up that energy really quickly. So I think it's a great analogy.
Yeah.
But it's like some of us have to be squirrels, right? And some of us
Right.
have to be lions for this whole thing to work. This like project of humanity. I mean,
Yeah. And if you were reading Glennon Doyle, some of us have to be cheetahs, goddamn cheetahs, right?
Yes. That's a great book. That is a great book.
It's a great
Glennon
book.
Doyle.
Mm.
No, I think I think there's so many good things you just said there. And I do think that's where some conflict arises though too, especially within relationships. Like, Julie, my Chris and I are very similar to, it sounds like you and your husband. Like I'm very much like, I definitely run a little bit more anxious. I'm definitely more of a worrier. I'm definitely like always like, is everyone else okay? Like I'm definitely like always surveying the scene. And he's like, all right, moving on. Or like we'll get in a fight and I'm like, then 3 minutes later, he's like, so what do you have for dinner? And I'm like, still stewing.
Dinner?
Yeah, I'm like, we can't talk about dinner at a time like this. He's like, we moved on. But I think it can, and this is taking, like I said, it's taking a little step deeper with attachment theory and things like that. And I'm not a mental health therapist. But it can cause some conflict because, and I think this is where it can be really, I tend to like have a stick in my side about the modern medical world because I do think we can do it better. But this is where I do understand it's difficult because each of us does need such a different approach to mental health, to physical health, to nervous system health. But let me go back to the conflict, please. Like, I think starting to understand that we're all wired a little bit differently, for me and like my personal relationships, it made me realize like, oh, that's why I handled this situation different than Chris or different than my sister or different than my dad. Because like we really are wired differently. Like that doesn't make me wrong or bad or them better or them wrong. It's just I might need different tools than they might need. Or, even within this group, like with all the stuff we've gone through, there might be some pieces that really speak to you and not to the other person. And that's why from the get-go, I'm like, I'm just going to dump a lot of stuff at you. Do not feel like you need to do it all, because even in terms of regulating your nervous system, like I remember, this is a very silly example, but like lavender is supposed to be really soothing, right? Like everyone puts like lavender essential oil. One of my best friends like hates lavender, and it like literally will send her into a panic attack if you give her like something about the scent triggers her. And I don't know if there's probably a biological thing there, physiological thing too, but it's just like this understanding that if we can understand that everyone has different coping mechanisms, maybe we can give ourselves more grace and who we're interacting with more grace. I will be honest, I don't always remember that in the middle of an argument, but
It's so hard to remember it, isn't it? Like we're supposed to see inside the person, and we can't, literally. Literally we can't.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We can't see those triggers, and we can't see the way their brain functions, and we can't see that their heart is the biggest thing about, we can't see any of that.
Yep.
So we're full of judgment in a way that's just so dysfunctional, right? Yep. And we all do it.
We all do it.
Ourselves.
Because we're protecting ourselves.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And I think that's the other piece is like, sometimes when people are reactive or people react in a certain way, I think it has to come back to what you just said. Like we're all protecting ourselves. Like at the end of the day, I mean, yes, there might be a little exception with like children and parents a little bit there, but even then, like once a child gets old enough, that dynamic shifts. But a lot of times in most of our relationships, like even if we're not mentally putting ourselves first, our nervous system is going to put ourselves first unless we override it. And that's not a bad thing, but it's just, it can, I think, cause conflict, or it can, like, if we're not aware of that, like I might be reacting in this way because I feel like I'm protecting my best interests. And it does require a little bit deeper self-reflection to like see that. But yeah, it's all about protecting our nervous system, not even protecting our like minds, but to protecting like our nervous system. And that is really all that it's really all like we're doing.
They call it the central nervous system for a reason, right?
Right, exactly. And that brings my point that actually brings up one thing that I wanted to say, and I hope I highlighted this previously, but I was thinking about this the other day when I was teaching a yoga class, actually. At the end of the day, when it comes to the nervous system, like I said, we've gone through so many different techniques, and and I'll continue to send more your way, but at the end of the day, the nervous system, the central nervous system, is the brain and the spinal cord, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got to keep those things happy. And there's all different ways to keep those things happy. But one of the simplest things you can do is just move your spine. Is just keep fluid and move your spine, like, gentle twists, some of that really early stuff we've done. But I was thinking about this the other day, like if I was going to tell one person where to start in taking care of their nervous system, move your spine. Like twist, side bend, bend over, reach. Keep fluidity in that central nervous system, because just like your muscles can get tight, and we've talked about this briefly, like your nerves can get tight. And at the end of the day, your central nervous system is a big hunk of nerves. So like if I was gonna say number one thing that anyone can do is to just start moving their spine throughout the day. Twists.
I'm going to put that on a Post-it note in front of my nose.
I love it.
I am, because it'll remind me. Just like I put my passwords up there because I can't remember them anymore. So too. I like that. Move your spine, because it feels good too.
Yeah. So and your whole spine, neck, low back, upper back, like it feels good. And if we were talking about things that anyone can do, no matter what age, ability level, cognition level, things like that, move your spine.
You must have heard the phrase "motion is the lotion." Have you heard that?
Yeah.
I had never, my sister-in-law said it the other day. I'm like, you know what? I'm not sure I like that expression. I'd never heard it before.
For some reason, it is. For some reason, that and like if you don't use it, you lose it kind of creep me out a little bit. Both of them. Yeah. I don't know why. But really, if you don't use it, I will say the sentiment of if you don't use it,
you lose it.
Is true. Like it is, like if you
That's
stop,
why it's a cliche, right?
Yeah, if you stop doing a certain movement, you won't have that movement anymore. And actually, like I'm just gonna keep bringing it back to the nervous system because that's where we're at. But like, if we've been talking about this for 6 months, but in the beginning, like some of these techniques are hard, and if you don't take care of your nervous system, it's going to take that much more effort to take care of it. And that can be said about anything we do, but I think about like my burnout journey. I'm like, okay, great. Like if I think like, oh, if I had known these things when I was really in the depths of my burnout, and then I thought, you know what? Like I was at such a dark place, at such a bad place, that I needed like extreme measures to like, I had to quit my job and I had to change my whole life because that's just where I was. Whereas like, if we continue to take care, and I'm moving into, I'm actually going to be working a part-time job where I'm in a similar environment I was when I was burnt out. And it was honestly re-triggering me a little bit mentally, like, oh my gosh, am I going to get sick again? Is that going to happen? But then I realized like for the past 3 years, really been trying to build my nervous system up. So if I can just stay consistent with it, then I'll be in a much better place. Whereas when I was in that situation, I wasn't taking care of myself at all. I came off of grad school and like, thought I was 21 still and I was 28. So like, it's different world. So in terms of these things that we're doing here, like in that realm of if you don't use it, you lose it, even just small little things can kind of keep yourself primed for being better able to handle stress. And the more you're primed to better able to handle stress, the more resiliency you can build over time. And it's the type of thing that's just going to build on itself. Like you're just going to keep building. So even if that's picking one thing, like you're already a step ahead of like a lot of people out there. A lot of people.
I think that's true.
Yeah. All right. Before we just move it, last thing I wanted to kind of chat, is there anything, and I'm going to send an email and kind of give some prompts to journal prompts to kind of review like the past 6 months if you'd like to, but is there any reflections or anything that you want to share that you feel like you've learned about yourself, or that you're like, oh, this is something new, or anything that you want to share in terms of what you've learned, or what you want to keep doing, or anything you want us to hold you accountable for even if it's from afar?
I don't know. I think just the talking about it in a regular way
Mhm.
lifts it to the top of mind,
Mhm.
so that even when, like, for instance, and I don't know why this popped into my head, but it just did. So we're going to have to go with it.
Love it.
But it was the idea of getting up and down off the floor every day.
Right.
So I'm 62. So I said, oh, I'm going to do that. And every single time I do it, I'm aware that I do it. And I do it every day. So
Love it.
I don't lose it. And I do it as part of something. I don't say, oh, I'm going to get down on the floor now. I just do it as part of something. But those little things, I don't think we can underestimate
Mm-hmm.
the power of those little things as a change in behavior. That's positive. The word positive maybe isn't it, but that's God, I'm 62, so word retrieval. But like, it's enriching, it's empowering.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. 100%. And if it makes you
I
feel any
think
better,
that's cool.
my mom and dad both literally just get on the floor every day to get back up. Like that is
Yeah.
just like, it's not
Yeah.
part of an exercise routine. I just make them get on the floor every day and get
Yeah.
back up. So they maybe
Yeah.
should tie it to some stretching while they're down
Yeah.
there. We're
Yeah.
working on that.
I just think it's all very helpful. It's
is.
the breathing in bed at night. It's all those things that you're doing that you're not really, they don't feel like a chore. They feel now like part of your psyche and part of your thing. Do you experience that, Julie, where things
Well,
have just sort of
'cause I was
incorporated?
realizing I was looking through the reflection prompts this morning, and I was like, wow, it's so hard to like remember back. And I was like, oh, I should go back and look at all my notes from the last 6 months, but I didn't really have time to like do all that.
Yeah.
So I was like, well,
Yeah.
this is probably a good test to like just think about what has been the last 6 months and like what comes to mind. And
Oh yeah.
of course,
Yeah,
the very first thing, in terms of like what's something that has really stuck is like breathing. And I was like, oh, but
Breathing,
I've
big.
always done a lot of breathing. So like, what, but I definitely have done more and different and, in more cases and used it more. So that's good. But I was like, but what's like new? What's like a new habit? What's like a new thing?
Mhm.
And I realized like I could think of a few things that I've tried here and there over the last 6 months. And I was like, but just like breathing, like that didn't happen overnight. Like just because I took my first class where I was taught, some relaxation breathing, it didn't mean that I
know.
started doing it 25 years ago when I took that class. But like, so it's like to give myself the time to kind of keep going back to the things and figuring out like, yeah, what is that like next thing that I can incorporate seamlessly, like you're saying, that just becomes
Exactly.
part of life rather than, oh, if I remember, I'm going to do that thing.
Exactly. It's more like a gift than, oh, if I remember, because then if I don't remember, then I have an opportunity to beat myself up, right?
Right.
But I don't go there with this stuff. I don't do that.
Good. I was
That's
going to ask.
different.
I was like, does that
That's
ever pop
different.
up? Yeah.
Even when I wasn't able to make the last couple of meetings, I didn't beat myself up because I
Good.
knew that it was okay.
Yeah.
Whereas so many times you don't feel like it's okay.
Mhm.
So I think that's in this particular experience really important.
Yeah. And
It's those little things, whatever they are.
And I think giving yourself, with all this stuff, like giving yourself grace is a huge way of nourishing your nervous system, because I don't think I'm going to assume a lot here, but I don't think you're alone, Liza, in beating yourself up over
Exactly.
missing something or not doing something. I think a lot of us do that. And
Mhm.
whether it's a coping mechanism, it's probably more of adaptive behavior for a lot of, and I will say once again, I think especially women, oh, I should be doing more, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. And
Yeah.
even just the fact of allowing yourself the grace to be like, okay, like I need something else right now. And
Well,
whatever
that's
that
what I
is.
mean. That's what I mean. So here's my choice.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to do one of these.
Right, exactly.
Where do I pick? And I know that the people I'm dealing with know that too.
Right.
They know
exactly.
that too, so I don't have to worry about it.
Right.
I think it's powerful. I really do.
I do too. I do too. And to your point, Julie, I just want to say, I think sometimes for me, I've had the same experience you're talking about with meditation. Like, I've been a yoga teacher for, I can't even tell you how many years, and I've tried every form of meditation and breath work too. Like, I teach breath work. I know meditation. I know breath work, and I'll go through periods where I just don't do it, or I just do it. But then there's other periods where I'm like, this is really nourishing and it's really easy. And I do think that's another piece of all of this is like during different seasons of our life, our nervous system will need different things. And like, and even during different like seasons of the year, like for me, I'll personally share, I've been trying to give myself a lot of grace with like sleep during the winter time. Like, it's darker, Carrie. It's okay if you like are a little bit lazier and whatnot. But even that is beating myself up and calling
Yeah, I
myself
know.
lazy. But when it comes to all these tasks like, you know, tips and tricks and all these I'll say modalities, for lack of a better word, all these modalities, like what's serving Julie of today and Liza of today, that might shift in 6 months when work shifts, or when the seasons shift, or when their travel shifts and things like that, or what we're doing during times of stress, during times of slowness at work. And I think that also speaks to just having an arsenal of tools, so that if you're like, I don't have time for whatever it is, you have something else that you can do. And looking at either way as like, I'm taking care of myself
Yeah.
where I am here and now. And I reserve the right to change that when I need to.
And to make a choice when I have to.
Right, exactly. One of the things I
Yeah.
always say, it's not really related to what we're talking about now, but I say this in my physical, like when I work with people in physical therapy, and actually both of you might have heard this before, but especially because research is ever shifting and because I'm ever learning and things like that, I always say to people, like, I reserve the right to change my mind. Like, the way that I practice as a physical therapist right now might not be the same way I practice in 5 years. And I
Oh, it
can
won't be, right? You
it
can
won't be.
guarantee it won't be, right?
Exactly. And I was gonna say, I can sure as shit guarantee you that how I practice now is not how I practiced before the pandemic or before I
Yeah.
went through my own burnout journey.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think I let the same sentiment into how I take care of myself now. Like how Carrie of, you know, February, I almost said March, February 24th, 2022 needs something different than even Carrie of February 24th, 2021. There's a lot
Yeah.
of different ways that and neither was necessarily right or wrong. It's just choosing where you
No,
are
it's
here now.
evolution. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
evolution.
Yeah, exactly. And that also will lead me to my next point. Continue to experiment. Try new things that we've gone through. Like I said, I'll keep sending things your way, keep sending interesting things that I find and learn. But try new things, and especially I'm back on that seasonal self-care guide, but with spring I'm going to send you guys a whole new kind of rundown of spring, since we kind of went through fall together, but in winter I should say. But with spring, like, notice what changes and what shifts in just your daily life when the weather gets warmer, and notice if you're feeling a craving to change your habits, and if so, allow yourself to do that. See what comes through there.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of the benefits of age too, Carrie. It's something you'll have to look forward to too, is that there's a freedom that comes with it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Where you're like, okay, I'll give myself the space to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But back to my point, I can do that all I want. I still think this forum
Yes.
has
Yes.
given us a really great opportunity to it's impact it, the little things make one big thing, right? And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you both very much. So right back at ya. So without further ado, let's do this. It is 6:59. Let's take like
Ooh.
a 3-minute break. And then I want to go through just a couple of, we'll do a little grounding since it is a little chaotic energy out there. We'll do a little grounding. If both of you guys have a set of yoga tune-up balls with you, like the rolly balls to roll out with?
I don't, but
You have
that
a water bottle.
doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. I don't
You have
have
a
any
water
balls.
bottle?
I've got like, no. I have these, but they're plastic. They're not hard. That's
You
all right.
let me think of something. Let me think of something. Water bottle usually I use. Well, we're gonna do some grind. We're gonna do mostly rolling on the feet. So
Yeah.
you can even use a rolled up, like you can use a rolled up like towel if you have it, or do you have carpet where you are?
I have a coffee can.
You're gonna use
Like
that. That's
that?
perfect. That's perfect. Okay, cool. Let's just gather our stuff. I'm gonna run to the bathroom. I'm gonna kind of just spin my screen so that you guys can see me better.
Should we
We're
get
gonna
on
do a
you want us on the floor?
Yeah, we're gonna be on the floor. We're gonna do some standing work, some seated and laying down work. So just enough space
Okay.
to change positions.
Okay.
And I'm gonna pin my video to record that. But yeah, let's come back at like 7:04
Okay.
and we'll go from there. I'm just gonna run to the bathroom and make sure it looks pretty behind me.
Okay.
Alrighty, welcome back, friends. So I'm gonna request one more thing if you have it, like a blanket or a folded up towel, or a folded up sweatshirt. Something that you can kind of like
Okay.
fold up about like this. Could be a pillow too. Pillow, blanket, towel. We're gonna put that off to the side.
I have Tim's dirty sweatpants. I don't suppose that counts.
Oh, that counts.
Yeah.
Love it. Alrighty. So good. So yeah, today's like I said, today's gonna be a mix of a lot of different things. And I will talk through a little bit about why we're doing certain things, just so you know. But we're going to actually get started in standing. So,
Oh, good.
everything nearby, we're going to get started. And you can keep socks on, socks off for now if you have them on. Stay as cozy as you want. And I want you to start to kind of walk in place a little bit here when you get ready. And just kind of take a moment to shift your weight right to left. And then you start to bring your eyes closed. Arms are heavy. Breath is full. And then you slow it down. Left, right, left, right. And eventually find equal weight in both feet. Just having this sense of groundedness in your feet. You'll start to shift a little forward and back. Or once again, you're going to find about 60% of the weight in your heels and 40% in your toes, and an equal weight left to right. Roll the shoulders up, back, and around a few times as you find just a soft bend in through the knees. And then let the shoulders just soften. Eyes are still closed. You're going to tuck the chin just a little bit so you feel like your spine's getting a little bit taller. Not like you have 17 chins, just like you got an inch taller. And notice what shifts here. Notice all 10 toes on the earth. Notice your feet. Take a deep breath in and a long breath out. On your inhale, arms are going to reach up overhead, gaze up just a little bit. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, arms reach up overhead, gaze, lips. Exhale, hands to heart center. One more time, reach up, gaze up. This time, hands to heart center. Bend your knees as you fold over your legs. Grab opposite hand to opposite elbow and hang. So knees can be really bent here. You might even create a shelf for your low belly. You just sway a little bit side to side. Continuing to feel your feet on the earth. To feel your breath in your back body. And then on your exhale, release your hands. Straighten your legs as much as you comfortably can. And just notice where your hands kind of land on the mat. It's going to look like I have a lot of mobility because I did practice yoga today, so please don't compare yourself to me. I've moved my body a lot today and demoed this more than once. And then you're going to bend the knees and really slowly roll up to stand. And you're going to let the shoulders relax down and back. You do have a set of balls, so you'll take one out. If you have your coffee can, you're just going to put it on the floor. And if you have something that you can hold on to, like a wall just for balance, we're just going to start to give the feet a little bit of love because they're really important for our sense of safety and our sense of kind of just stability. So whatever you're using, you're just going to slowly start to roll the foot forward and back. I'm going to start with the right. You can start whichever one you want. Forward and back, finding some movement on the inside edge, outside edge. Just really exploring where your foot is in space. And this foot rollout, like I could literally do a 25-minute foot rollout. So we're going to do a little abbreviated version. And there is a foot rollout kind of in one of the PDFs, but I want to give the feet some love because they're such an important part of us. And then as you continue to roll out, you might just really gently step on the ball or just put a little bit more pressure onto that coffee can. But making sure you're holding on so you're not pressing so hard that you're gasping, that you're like, oh, just a little squish. You can also, if you want to, do it with a towel too. But just a little squish, a little roll, kind of alternating between squishing and rolling and finding those more tender spots. Squish and roll. And then eventually you're going to take your heel on the floor and the ball of your foot's going to be propped up on a surface here so that your toes kind of relax either over the ball or over the coffee can. And then you're gonna just start to step over as much as you can. Heel might come up and step back. Step over, and you might not go far depending on how big the ball is too. I have like a really soft, squishy one underneath my foot right now, so they definitely wear out with time. Beautiful. We'll do 2 more, forward and back, forward and back. And you're gonna come on back and pause. And you're gonna take the right leg, if you're whatever leg you have the ball under, and you're gonna bend the knee and then straighten it. Bend the knee and then straighten it. A few more, bend and straighten. 1 more, bend and straighten. We're gonna come back to just rolling forward and back, inside edge, outside edge. Get all the way up to the toes and back to the heels, moving around, breathe. Take a nice deep breath in and a long breath out. And then you're just gonna kind of place that off to the side and take your feet flat again. Arms by your side, eyes are gonna close, and I just want you to notice any differences left to right. And notice also if anything has shifted up the chain. Notice your thighs, the fronts of your hips, your glutes, your low back, the low belly. Notice if you feel more connected, if you feel more awareness to one side of your body. Just kind of starting to put these pieces together here. Take 1 more breath in and sigh it out. And we're gonna head right over to the other side, whatever side you start with. And if you have 2 balls with you, you can always switch to another ball just because they do get kind of, you can equally wear them out. And you'll start with forward and back wherever you are, forward and back. A little roll of the feet. Noticing one side might be a little more tense than the other. Totally normal. We all have, just as we all have different kind of physiological ways of reacting to stress, we all have different kind of patterns of movement in our body and structural changes in our body, even left to right. We're going to take a little squishing, alternating between rolling a few, squishing some of the tender spots. And with all the fascia work that this stuff with your feet and things that we've talked about in the past and in the module, it really comes down to being curious. If something feels good, follow that. If you want to spend a little more time with something, do it. The fascia work especially is really guided by your feels, by what you're feeling. Squish. Roll.
I just squished my coffee can.
Oh no! You're too strong!
I am.
That's too funny. Squish and roll. Don't squish too hard. We'll send you another coffee can.
I should have gotten one with coffee in it from downstairs. I didn't think of it.
So we're gonna take the foot onto the ball, the ball, heel down, and we're just gonna take those couple of walks over. You can also do this with like your foot elevated on like a book or a towel or something like that. Doesn't have to be a ball. Ball just happens to be here. Forward and back. Forward and back. 2 more times. 1 and 2. Alrighty, and then coming back, you're gonna have weight in your left heel with a left leg straight, and then the right foot's gonna be kind of behind it. You're just gonna bend the left knee and straighten it. Bend and straighten. 1 more bend and straighten. Actually, for good luck, we're gonna do another one. One last one more. And then we're gonna come back to rolling forward and back, forward and back. Kind of feeling into the side of the body. You might need to hang out a little bit more in the arch of the foot or the heel of the foot. Squishing a few more times. Beautiful. eventually you're just gonna let the ball roll off to the side, come back to both feet flat on the floor. Now that you've just done a new side, notice once again how things have shifted. I'm always partial to closing my eyes when I check in because I do feel like it takes away the visual stimulus and takes away the distraction so I can turn inward. I offer you that if you feel called to it as well. Take a breath in and a breath out. Inhale, arms reach up overhead, eyes can open. Exhale, keep the legs straight, fold over your legs. Notice how much movement you have compared to the first time you folded over earlier. Maybe there's a little bit more. Beautiful. Bend the knees, slowly roll up to stand. Fingertips are going to come up to the sky. Hands to heart center. Arms are going to come wide, feet a little bit wide. We're going to do my favorite lymphatic one, swinging palm tree. Let the spine rotate, let the hips rotate. And you see as I rotate, I keep this leg kind of opening here. That's opening the lymphatic pathways in the front of the hips. Arms are heavy. Your toes are fluid. You don't want your feet to be like grinding into the mat. They're kind of floating above the mat. We're here. Or was I tip myself over? Don't close your eyes.
I just did that too.
I closed my eyes because I was enjoying it. So. All right. Here we got 3, 2, 1. Another huge mover of your lymph is the calf muscles, actually. So one thing that helps you, and you can hold on for this, left foot's going to come forward, right foot's going to come back like you're in a crescent lunge in yoga. And then hands either on the wall or on your hips. You're going to press through the right foot and lift the heel, and then let it sink back down. So press and sink. It is demanding on your balance and your calf, but it's so, so good for your lymphatic system.
So just lift the heel, Carrie?
Yep, just lift the heel. So it's going to feel like that back calf is like working hard for it. That's okay. We're only going to stay for about like 10 or so. 3, 2, 1. Right foot steps forward. You're going to step it left foot back. Switch it up. First, get your base of support. Kind of settle the hips. And then left leg, the heel lifts and lowers. You might even get a stretch in the front of your hip.
I was just going to say, yeah, that's great.
Which is also good for lymphatic flow because that's a really important space. Beautiful. 4, 3, 2, 1. Come on, back, left foot meets your right. Shake it out. Kind of do a do 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 do. I will not fully sing. So another thing, and I'm not going to have us do a ton of this right now because I don't think everyone needs to do it, but jumping and kind of bouncing and let everything shake is also really good for the lymphatic system. Your lymphatic system, so we're not really jumping here. I'm just kind of like shaking things out, making sure my belly's soft, my shoulders are soft, but your lymph kind of moves through your tissues. So the more you can soften them and get things fluid, it can help. So even just like kind of like bouncing on your toes like this can be really good. Another one that one of my mentors loves, I don't love it as much, is kind of like, once again, jumping's not for everyone, but it's a good option if you just need to kind of shake it out. It's like a middle school dance or something. And then I'm not going to do it now, but I have like a little mini trampoline, which is really great for your lymphatic system as well. So from here, at home, if you have dry brushes, you can do dry brush, but I always like to finish up a little lymphatic practice with starting at one leg, taking my hands and just kind of swiping from feet up, and go around my whole leg. Let me do a couple of passes. You can use one hand, both hands, but kind of just like bringing everything up, gentle but quick. Then go to the other leg. These leggings are perfect because they have like lines on it. I feel like they're made for my hands. Make sure you get those inner lines as you come on up, the thighs,
Excuse me.
the backs. And let things jiggle. I know that sounds weird, but like we're supposed to move. So then the next place you're gonna go to, I'm gonna tuck this in a little bit, is the front of the hips, this kind of crease here. And you're just going to really gently kind of pull everything up towards the low belly. Out, you can even do some outside of the hips, low belly, gentle but firm. And I am losing strings on my pants right here. Come on up. Before, we're not gonna do the low belly just yet. You're gonna come up to the hands next, same thing. Kind of wipe all the way up towards heart. Head over to the other arm. And you're gonna come back over to that first armpit, and you're gonna kind of come from this lat and gently pull towards kind of the midline. And you'll do a few swipes, starting kind of a little bit lower. I'm gonna come a little closer for this one. Starting kind of here, almost like you're trying to pull the breast tissue away, towards the midline. And you can get deep into that kind of armpit area here. And then you're going to kind of take this kind of meaty portion right here and just give it a little squeeze and a little jiggle. A little squeeze
That
and
won't be
jiggle.
a problem.
A good spot to squeeze and jiggle.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take that on the other side. Start at that armpit and gently pull it through. And once again, it's firm, but it's gentle. Like you're not digging in, but you're not like petting yourself either. And you might notice one side feels different than the other. That's okay, that's normal too. We'll take another kind of grab and a little jiggle of that inside edge. Beautiful. You're then gonna come midline here, right? And I thought this white shirt would be helpful, but it seems to be glowing a little bit. So this is your sternum here, this kind of hard bone that comes all the way down. What we're gonna start with is think completely dead center. You're gonna start kind of at that above your pubic bone here and just make small circles all the way up your midline, like you're tracing all the way up to your belly button. This actually can sometimes feel better laying on your back, but since we're doing all lymphatic system, I want to lead into sternum. And you go all the way up to the xiphoid process, and you'll do that one more time. Start back down, come all the way up. This might feel a little funky. You might feel a little like, ooh, I feel like things are being shaken up. That's okay. We'll go back down one more time. And back up. Beautiful. And then you're going to start at the sternum, tap along your breastbone as far down as you comfortably can. You're just going to tap up and down, up and down. It sounds kind of like thud, thud, thud. It's pretty much bone. Then you're going to tap along one clavicle here. Tap along the other. You're going to take fingers kind of below the clavicle and just gently kind of press out, out, out. And then to the other side, out, out, out. Last thing, and I have earrings on, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but you're going to take your hands kind of behind the ears and just really massage behind the ears, kind of pulling down towards the throat to the heart. And actually, we're going to come seated in a second, so if you want to finish this up in seated, you can, but I'm just standing because you'll probably see a better view. So these are all kind of a mix of lymphatic work and fascial work at the same time. Beautiful. Wherever you are, just pause, take a nice deep breath in, and a long breath out. We're gonna come all the way down to the floor. This doesn't need to be graceful. Get there however you wanna get there. And we're gonna finish up with around the world breathing. One of the number one ways, to access and to improve lymphatic flow is with diaphragmatic breathing. So we're gonna do what I call around the world breathing. For this, you're going to need a blanket or a pillow or even a folded up sweatpants, and you're gonna start with the object underneath the rib cage. So kind of like right where these hard bones of the ribs are, you're gonna lay on top of it, and you can always you can do this on a bed, you can do this on the floor, and you're gonna lower down so that your elbows are wide and your palms are stacked and foreheads there. And then support the rest of the body how you need. So sometimes a pillow under the ankles feels nice, or even another pillow under the hips. Like, let yourself once again feel safe and supported so that you can access deeper breath. But from here, you're gonna inhale into this back line of your body. You might even feel a stretch. And then exhale, soften into the earth. Inhale into the back line of the body. Soften into the earth. Continue just rising and falling in the back of the rib cage. Bonus points if you remember back to our breathwork module, if you breathe in and out through your nose. We've got 3 more breaths here. See if you can slow it down. On your next inhale, just slowly press yourself up onto your elbows, and you're just gonna roll over to one side. So the blanket is gonna stay underneath the right rib cage, and you're gonna lay onto the right side. If you have a block, you can always put it underneath your head, or you can cradle your head like you're posing at the beach. And then knees can be bent here just so you have a little bit more stability. You can also put a pillow between the legs if the knees are sensitive. And then you're going to take a hand to this left rib cage here. And once again, breathing into that diaphragm, inhale, lift the left rib cage to the sky with your breath. Exhale, soften everything. Inhale, lift. Exhale, soften. Just follow that rise and fall of your breath. Three more breaths here, in and out. Filling up. And letting go. One more big breath in. And out. And then you're going to roll onto the left side. So the left rib cage jumps right up. You can either roll onto your belly first and over, or roll onto your back first, whatever is more comfortable in your physical body. The left rib cage is going to come to the blanket. Head comes to the block, knees bent. And right hand's going to land on top of your ribs. On your inhale, lift the right rib cage to the sky. Exhale, soften. Inhale, lift. Exhale, soften. Two more, lift. Soften. Lift. Soften. One more round of breath in and out. So this time you're gonna remove your block and you're gonna roll onto your back. And you might need to scooch the blanket up just a little bit, but it's almost like you're taking a little heart opener here. Head's gonna come to the mat and make it so that your neck is comfortable here. You can move up or down on the blanket. Knees can be bent feet flat. So you can always put something underneath your knees or elevate them if you need. Eyes can be closed. And then this time, just really breathing into all three sides of your rib cage, or four, depending how you look at it. Really start to slow it down. Feel the expansion and contraction of the diaphragm. Feel the body softening towards the earth. Not only is diaphragmatic breathing getting the lymphatic system moving, but it's also stimulating the vagus nerve. One more breath in and out. And I didn't say this in the beginning, so if you don't have it close by, don't worry. But if you have a wall that you can scooch over to or a chair that you can put your legs up, I invite you to bring your legs up at the wall for our final moments here of practice. If you have like a desk chair, you can just bend your knees and kind of rest the calves on the desk chair. But this is called Viparita Karani or easy inversion or waterfall sometimes. It is also one of the best things you can do for your lymphatic system, especially for your lower body. So take a moment to wiggle your toes, to kind of shake out your knees as you bring your hands to your hair and just gently run your fingers through your hair, massaging the scalp, top, sides, back, base of skull. Gently pulling at the hair. Beautiful. Scratching the head even, massaging. And then arms land where they're comfortable. If you have that blanket and you want to throw it over your hips, it can feel like a nice weighted blanket here. Eyes can close down, legs can start to still. Together we'll take a deep breath in and an open mouth. Shavasana. slowly begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes, making circles with your wrists and your ankles. Maybe even running your fingers back through your hair one more time. And then beginning to just bend the knees and slowly roll over onto one side, just curling up in a little ball, grounding down. Take a full breath in and let it go. Press yourself up to a comfortable seat, wild hair and all. And we'll just take one more moment, palms down on your thighs, crown of the head reaching up. Take a nice deep breath in and sigh it out. Hands find heart center. And it is truly with the utmost gratitude and respect that I bow to each of you. Namaste. Thank you, thank you, thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here, for showing up. And I'm just gonna kind of get close, pop off of me.
Wait,
Got me in dark.
let me-
How we doing? No, there you are. How'd that all feel?
Great. Best yet.
Well, it was so good to see you both one last time. I'm going to send you an email chock full of just some more lymphatic system resources because, like you said, lymphatic system 2, to be completely honest, is the one that there's still the much more research to be found on. So that's going to probably be more and more of that. That's just the least research that of all the things we review. So I'll continue to share what kind of comes across my field, share obviously the replay, all that good stuff. But please know that I'm here for you. Anything you need, if you even just want to chat, I love chatting this stuff. And yeah, we will definitely be in touch, and I'll keep you guys updated as things go along. But is there anything you need from me before we head off tonight?
Thank you so much, Carrie.
Karen,
Of course,
thank you.
thank you.
Amazing. I'll miss you both.
I know, I feel
I
a little
know.
teary. I feel a little teary.
And what I will say, if it's okay with you guys, and you don't have to answer now, I'll send an email. On our last email, I'll put everyone's your emails together. If you guys ever do need to get in contact with anyone, like you have, like I keep it BCC right now just for privacy, but I'll send an email out, and I'm gonna send a little form out too with like just some ideas of things for the future that to see what you guys might be craving a little bit, even just for YouTube videos, because I'm always creating YouTube videos in my space, but I want to make sure they're serving you guys like free YouTube videos for anyone to use. So I might send out a little survey of like, what are you really craving the most, and then make some videos for y'all.
Great.
Thank
Awesome.
you so much, Carrie.
Thank you, Carrie.
Happy Thursday, Julie. Stay,
Bye, Bye, Julie.
enjoy Georgia because it'll be warm. Stay safe in the snow tomorrow, and
I'll be home soon.
yeah, I'll talk to y'all soon.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, friends.
Congrats. Bye.